I've had the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 for just over 10 months now, not quite a year, but just over 10 months. And right since I got involved with the bike, one common comment kept cropping up. And that is that Royal Enfields are made from cheap and nasty materials and they are going to rust. In short, they're cheap for a reason, and that reason is that substandard materials have been used, and that within a very short space of time the bike will, at least cosmetically, start to deteriorate. Now, over the years I've shown you my methods for looking after and preserving the finish on a motorcycle. The full fillingham, a method of cleaning and protecting your bike with the right waxes and dressings to slow down the ravages of time. And I've always advocated its use on any motorcycle, irrespective of who built it. Because in that respect, all bikes are the same. It doesn't matter whether it's a BMW or a cheap Chinese 125. If you don't take steps to preserve the finish on any of those bikes, they will deteriorate. And they'll deteriorate pretty quickly. And when I first got the Interceptor, I couldn't see anything in the construction of the bike that would lead me to believe that it was in any way compromised aesthetically from any other make of bike that I've had experience of. In fact, some aspects of the bike led me to believe that although Royal Enfield had a limited budget, they'd made some very good common sense choices about some of the materials that the bike was built from. Alloy rims instead of a cheap chrome, and spokes that I'm convinced are made from stainless steel. Certain material choices around the bike that might not give a premium look, but do represent a common sense approach to durability and corrosion resistance. Now, I don't own one of the classic models, the bullet-based 350 or 500cc singles. They're a motorcycle that was originally designed in the late 1940s, and it could be that some of the processes of the build are still using that era of technology. I would like to think that the quality is the same as the new Interceptor and Continental GT. Or maybe these two newer models represent a different approach by Royal Enfield. I'm not entirely sure. Then the other thing to take into account is that Royal Enfields, generally speaking, are a budget brand. A day-to-day, no-frills commuter for the Indian market, which translates equally into a cheap and cheerful mode of transport for Westerners. And herein lies the problem, I believe, for this brand and its reputation for rusting. Now, I'm not tarring everyone with the same brush, all people are different, but my experience of bikers who go for the budget end of this mode of transport is that the most exotic materials they're likely to use for the aesthetic maintenance of the bikes are a can of lemon pledge and a bucket of hot water with some washing up liquid in it. A surefire way of instigating an outbreak of the dreaded rust worm on all the vulnerable parts of your bike. And I mean any bike. Rust doesn't care whether your bike is a low level commuter or a top end premium tourer. It will bite into the value of your bike whenever the opportunity arises. So this winter I decided to try a little experiment. The bike was last washed and prepped at the end of September. I used Silcoline wash off to clean it, although muck off is just as good. And then after drying the bike, I went on with my normal regime of using a good quality carnauba wax on all the fine paintwork, that's the tank, the mudguards, the side panels, followed by a liberal coating of Silcoline Pro Prep. Now, I consider Pro Prep to be a good protector for the summer months where the weather is mainly dry and you're not going to come across any salt. I don't recommend it for heavy duty use in the winter. I took the Pro Prep and I gave the engine, the running gear, the exhaust system and all parts of the frame, including the swing arm, a liberal coating. And the bike wasn't cleaned again until this weekend just gone. Now, the biggest mistake that bike owners make is that they think because they have a garage they don't need to protect the bike in any way. And nothing could be further from the truth. In some respects, keeping your bike in a garage is potentially more corrosion encouraging than leaving it outside. Unless you have a brick-built garage which is integral to your house so it gets some warmth from the fabric of the house, or it has some sort of heating system in place. A garage is a cold, damp building with concrete floors, cold concrete or brick walls, and quite often either something like a tin roof or, as is the case with my garage, a cement-based sheeting. Basically, you're keeping your bike inside a box which just attracts moisture, condensation, and because it's a closed off space, there's no air circulation, so that condensation, when the circumstances are right, doesn't dry out. It remains there, and during the winter months it can just build up to the point where it starts dripping off the roof onto your bike, which itself will attract condensation, and that's where the deterioration occurs. Your bike can stay soaking wet through for weeks on end. And I'll be quite honest, I don't even consider that Pro Prep is up to the job of protecting a bike in a cold, damp garage during the winter months. Then, just to make matters worse, I also rode the bike during the winter. Now, I run a YouTube channel, so I don't have to commute to work, so it's nowhere near typical of what your average commuter bike goes through in winter. But I have done round about 300 miles during the winter months on dry days, but as you British bikers will know, even on a dry day you will come across standing water, and where there's standing water there is also salt. So when I gave the bike a good thorough clean this weekend, what did I find? Starting with the fine paintwork, the tank, the mudguards and the side panels. The tank is actually the part we need to worry about the most because that is metal. Checking the parts over that are most likely to give problems, the seams at the bottom of the tank where it's all sealed up. The paintwork is absolutely perfect, not a sign of rust anywhere, it's maintained its shine. Now, the major design feature of these bikes that gives the most concern is the actual fuel filler itself. It's made from several components welded together, and it collects water. And once again, this is just as good as the day I took delivery of the bike. So far, so good. Next up we have the chrome. I've heard complaints about the header pipes rusting. Let's face it, a chrome exhaust system on any motorcycle is always one of the first parts to show problems. Not on my bike though. It would seem that the Pro Prep, although not ideal, has been enough to protect these pipes during the winter months, and I checked the entire exhaust system, both sides, thoroughly from top to bottom, and I found no cause for concern anywhere. In fact, once again, I would go so far as to say that the chrome work on the exhausts and on the handlebars is perfect, and again, as good as the day the bike rolled out of the factory. So far it seems that the rusty Royal Enfield myth is just that, a bit of a myth. Let's take a look at the frame. Once again, no signs of any rust anywhere, even under the seat where moisture tends to collect and stay there. Even the most vulnerable part of the chassis, the swing arm, and in particular the wishbone, which gets hit by everything that the rear wheel throws at it. All of it was perfect. I couldn't find any issues. And I'm being totally honest, I found the same just about anywhere that I looked on the bike. The fork stanchions were absolutely fine, no problems whatsoever, no sign of any pitting or surface rust. All these critical components to me seem to be pretty much the same quality as you would get on any Japanese bike or any Triumph or BMW. The quality is there, they're just no frills parts. Now, just to demonstrate that I'm not cherry picking here, there was a tiny bit of salt pitting on the leading edges of both polished engine cases. It wasn't bad, and I would say it's commensurate with any bare alloy engine casing. Pretty much the same as I've seen happen on Triumphs. The engine cases were in general very dull and tarnished with some water staining and a little bit of etching. And this, I should add, is just normal maintenance. Polishing up these cases is something that you're going to have to do a couple of times a year at least. Now, in order to do this, I did use one of Auto Bright's products that they sent me for test. And I'm actually quite impressed by the results. I'll give you a full report on that at some stage in the future. But suffice to say, there's been no permanent damage caused to the engine casings during the winter months, and they were easily brought back to life with a decent product and a bit of elbow grease. Zinc plated components, as you would expect, are starting to show a bit of a patina that demonstrates they have been exposed to the elements. Again, nothing really worth writing home about. Now, the drive chain is a base level DID item, and I've got to take responsibility for this because the last time that I lubed it, I didn't lube the inside of the chain properly, so there is a little bit of surface rust there. I'll get rid of that next time I clean and lube the chain. And last but not least, the only other fault I could really find was the right hand side mirror, where some of the silver backing had come away around the edges. Not something that I've seen before with motorcycle mirrors, but to be honest, if this is the sum total of a winter's damage to the bike, I'm quite happy. Now, it was the same with nuts, bolts, screws, all fasteners. Everything looked pretty much like new. I can't find any faults anywhere. And all I really did to this bike was give it the usual pre-season spring clean, about 4 hours work. The same treatment basically that I give to any bike after winter. Last year I had almost bought into the hype myself that a Royal Enfield motorcycle is going to disintegrate before your eyes during the course of the first winter. But I am happy to report that providing you follow normal basic motorcycle maintenance and protection procedures, the answer to that question that Royal Enfields are just rust buckets, fact or fiction, is in my view without a doubt fiction. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video and helping to support my channel. I hope you found this video useful and that you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel. We've just hit the 30,000 subscribers mark. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the notifications tab so that you are alerted whenever I upload a new video. Now, I am of course going to be back on Friday, where I will be announcing the winners of the Motone Customs Rule Britannia photograph competition. Sam at Motone has been so impressed by the entries that have come in that he has decided to enlarge the prize pool. Also, there will be 3 runner-up prizes. Be sure to tune in on Friday not only to find out what those prizes are and whether you're one of the winners. So until then, if you have to ride, please ride carefully, and I'll see you soon.